Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Video Sports Show. Thank you for joining me on this Monday afternoon. It is Monday, October 6th, the day I'm recording this, and we have a lot to talk about. Uh, I'll try to get to some football, break down Monday Night Football tonight, but the majority of this episode is going to be about UFC 320 and what the results in the matches meant for the future of the UFC and the UFC title races for both bantamweight and light heavyweight, which both had title fights over the weekend. As well as what the result of the main event, what the main event fights are gonna mean. Alright, the main card fights, I mean. Alright, so let's start off with the light heavyweight division. Just because I think obviously that was the biggest. So when Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev first faced off in March, I watched the fight and I noticed that Pereira just wasn't himself. And obviously, those who don't watch UFC or need a reminder, Magomed Ankalaev, obviously, he won the first fight. He entered this fight as a champion. And Pereira was very adamant that in the first fight, he was not even close to 100% healthy. He was injured. I think Joe Rogan said he was battling some type of virus. So yeah, Pereira wasn't even close to healthy in that first fight. But even then, despite the fact that Pereira wasn't even close to being healthy, it still went the full 5 rounds. And there's still a lot of people who thought that Pereira won the first fight. The reason he didn't win the first fight, and Alex had great moments in that first fight, but the first fight, Ankalaev, I knew he won. I feel like Pereira was great in rounds 1 and 5, but at the end of the day, how much Ankalaev was having Pereira step down. He got a lot of control time over Pereira. Sure, Pereira defended all the takedowns, but overall, I feel like Ankalaev does look a lot better in the first fight than Pereira did. And so, Ankalaev won. Now we get to yesterday's fight. Pereira said he was a lot healthier. He felt a lot better going into the camp, while Ankalaev was saying that he was going to knock Pereira out. That did not happen. This fight was, excuse my language, it was an ass beating. And Pereira knocked out Ankalaev in 1 minute and 20 seconds. 80 seconds all Pereira needed. So, Pereira's back on top. Really feels like balance has been restored to the UFC. And this definitely puts a lot in the future of the light heavyweight division. 2 fights before that, Yuri Prochazka KO'd Khalil Roundtree, and what was an amazing fight. That was a really good fight. What sucks for Prochazka is that he thought that was going to be the number 1 contender fight, and that whoever won that fight was gonna face the winner of Ankalaev versus Pereira. My issue with this is that Pereira's knocked out Prochazka twice. Second time more devastating than the first. And neither fight made it out of the second round. Both fights end in the second round. Pereira winning by KO/TKO. With Pereira now being the champion, do you really want Prochazka to be his first defense of his now second title reign at light heavyweight? When everyone knows that the last 2 fights between Pereira and Prochazka were just demolitions where Pereira beat the crap out of him? It's not a really good fight. I think Yuri was kind of banking on hoping that Ankalaev would win, and I think, Daniel Cormier talked about this in the build-up show to 320, but champions tend to get about 30% better from the first championship win to the first title defense. So with that in mind, Ankalaev was probably going to get 30% better, even if Pereira was going to be a lot more healthier, which Pereira said was holding him back in the first fight, which I think after this we kind of saw that it was. But I think Yuri was kind of banking on the fact that he thought Ankalaev was going to win, and that Ankalaev's next defense was going to be against Prochazka, because Prochazka won what many thought was going to be the number 1 contender fight. Now, Pereira winning, I just don't think that the winner of that Prochazka Roundtree fight is going to face Pereira. It was obviously Prochazka, but since it was Prochazka, it's like, do you want him going against Pereira right away, or do you need him to prove himself one more fight? Pereira's next fight, in my opinion, it's either got to be up in heavyweight, because the UFC's been talking about this for a while, or it's got to be against Carlos Solberg at 205. And then, regardless of the result of Pereira's next fight, other than if Olberg beats him. I would say that Ankalaev in my opinion, what I see the future being, I see, I don't think Pereira goes up to light heavyweight just yet. I think he'll defend the belt against Carlos Olberg because I think Olberg right now it's kind of clear he's got to be the number one contender in my opinion. And then Ankalaev will fight Prohaska, and then the winner of that Prohaska Ankalaev fight will be the number one contender for Pereira's belt, uh, or the light heavyweight championship after what in my opinion will be a Pereira versus Carlos Olberg fight. But yeah, great win for Pereira. I think Pereira definitely needed that one to show the world that he wasn't washed. He's still the great elite fighter that he's been since he came to the UFC. Uh, Two division champion, now a two-time light heavyweight champion, and a lot of people think he will make that move up to heavyweight. I'd say let him go. A match between Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall would be cinema, so let Pereira go. As far as bantamweight goes, I just don't think there is anybody in that 135-pound division that has the capability to beat Murad Dvalishvili. Listen, I will give a lot of credit to Sandhagen. Corey looked really good in that fight. He had great moments and he fought really hard. But Murad's gas tank. The fact that Murad can put that much pressure on a fighter, that consistently for 5 straight rounds, it just goes to show the amazing gas tank that Murad Dvalishvili has. And right now, I legitimately don't see anybody in the 135-pound division beating Murad right now. I think the only way you can beat Murad is to knock him out early in the fight. If you try to outgas him, you're not. He just proved his last 3 fights that his gas tank is significantly better than everyone else in the 135-pound division. You're not going to be able to outgas him. He is going to dominate you for 5 straight rounds. He's going to make you think that he's going to be tired in the 5th round and that you can get him later on in the fight. That's not the case. He's been able to outgas tank. He outgas tanked O'Malley in the first fight. He outgas tanked Murad, and now he just outgas tanked Corey Sandhagen. Like, you're gonna have to get him within the first couple of rounds, because if you try to wait and get him in the 5th round and see if you can get lucky with the knockout, you're not. Like, he's gonna put pressure on you. He's gonna dominate the control time, and right now it's just, dude. Listen, that's not a sigh of like hate. I love Murad. He's, in my opinion, one of the more entertaining fighters in the business. But I'm just saying, I just don't know how anybody at 135 can beat Murad right now. As far as Murad's next fight goes, I really don't know. I think maybe Umar. Umar needs to prove himself though, especially after the way Murad beat him at 311 in the beginning of the year. It's not going to be O'Malley. O'Malley's gotten his ass beat by Murad twice. And then Sandhagen obviously just lost. So it'd have to be someone else in the top 5. Let me check the bantamweight top 5 real quick. Because I actually need to know, like... Let me see real quick. Well, it's really Peter Young and Song Yadong. That's the rest of the top 5. So obviously the bantamweight rankings right now, they haven't been updated since the fights yet, but it's Murad's the champion, followed by O'Malley, Umar, Peter Yan, Corey Sandhagen, and Song Yadong. Murad's already beaten 3 of those guys. He's beaten O'Malley twice. He beat Umar in the beginning of the year, and obviously Saturday night he beat Corey Sandhagen. So, in my opinion, I think it's got to be Piotr Yan. He's looked a lot better over the last year or so. He's looked a lot more consistent. He's been able to win fights in the way we got used to him winning when he was the champion. So, in my opinion, I think Piotr Yan is going to be the number 1 contender. Whether he can beat Murad, I don't know. I personally don't think. Right now in the division, I just don't see anybody being able to beat Piotr Yan until someone realizes that you're going to have to knock him out You're gonna have to submit him. If the fight goes to full 5 rounds, odds are Marab is going to outgas tank you. So either beat Marab at his own game and try to have the better gas tank for the full 5 rounds, or knock him out or submit him. Because right now, that's the only way you're gonna beat Marab. Um, Zalal beat Josh Emmett submission very quickly in the featherweight bout at the beginning in the earlier main card. And then Joe Pyfer submitted Magomedov. Joe Pyfer is a very fun fighter. He's definitely going to be ranked. And I do think Pyfer does deserve another ranked fight. I know he lost to, I think it was Hermanson last year in that fight night card around the Super Bowl time. Yeah, it was the night before the Super Bowl the last time Pyfer fought a ranked opponent. He lost that fight. But yeah, I think Pyfer definitely deserves another chance at the top 15. He's definitely earned that opportunity, and Zalal looks really good. So keep an eye out for him in the featherweight division, especially beating Josh Emmett, who's one hell of a knockout artist. But yeah, 320 was fantastic. The next UFC fight is going to be this weekend. It's a fight night card in uh, Sao Paulo, Brazil. The main event is Charles Oliveira and Mateus Gamarot. The co-main event is Davison Figueiredo against Montel Jackson. Also on the main card are... Let me use the main card. Vincent Luque versus Joel Alvarez. John Denise versus Mario Pinto. And Ricardo Ramos against Con Ofley. Con Ofley, who was recently on The Ultimate Fighter. So yeah, that's the next UFC fight. Then fight night is this weekend in Sao Paulo, Brazil on ESPN. And then the next pay-per-view will be October 25th, with the main event being Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane for the heavyweight championship. It'll be Tom Aspinall's first title defense as officially the heavyweight champion, the undisputed heavyweight champion ever since John Jones retired. And then co-main event to that pay-per-view is Chandra Boda versus Mackenzie Dern for the now vacant strawweight title, because we now know that Zhang Weili is going up to 125 to fight Valentina Shevchenko. And then we actually do see Umar Nurmagomedov, the number 2 bantamweight contender, going up against Mario Bautista in that fight. There's a good chance that the winner of that fight becomes the number 1 contender for Merab's belt, although I do still think that Petr Yan deserves the chance to fight for the title, or at least be in a number 1 contender fight. But yeah, that's the future for UFC, at least the near future for UFC. Yet again, fight night this weekend, Oliveira versus Gamrot. That's going to be a hell of a fight. Hopefully we get to see Oliveira win and not go through the pain of watching Oliveira be slept for the second fight in a row. Then yeah, let's talk about... Did Monday Night Football still as good as I thought it was? Monday Night Football, to transition over to football. I know I spent a lot of time talking about UFC, but UFC was really good this weekend, and it needed to be talked about. Monday Night Football is tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to Jacksonville, based on the Jaguars. The Liam Cohen era has started off very well. 3-1. Jags are 3-1. The Chiefs, despite the fact they started 0-2, have looked better. Now, obviously, the Chiefs haven't played the best teams in those last 2 wins, and a lot of people think that the Jags may not be as good as their record says they are. So this is going to be an interesting game. Obviously, the last time the Jags made the playoffs, they were eliminated by the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Not that this has anything to do with that, but Monday Night Football is tonight. I'm going to rock with the Chiefs and Patty Mahomes, but yeah, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. If the Patriots can go to Buffalo and beat the Bills in their own stadium, then sure, maybe the Jags can beat the Chiefs. And obviously the playoffs for baseball continue. There's a lot of things I gotta watch tonight. Monday Night Raw is obviously tonight. It's Monday night. It's Monday. Game 2 between the Dodgers and Phillies is at 6 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock is Game 2 between the Brewers and the Cubs in the NLDS. Obviously the ALDS rocked on yesterday. The Mariners even the series against the Detroit Tigers, beating them 3-2, and the Blue Jays continue to dominate, and I mean dominate, the New York Yankees. The Yankees have been getting their asses kicked by the Blue Jays, but Toronto are up 2-0 in that series. The next ALDS games are going to be tomorrow night, with the Mariners going to Detroit and the Blue Jays going to New York. Uh, Nobody's really. It's tied 1-1 in the Blue Jays Mariners series for the next two games. So, anybody can win that series. And if the Blue Jays beat the Yankees on Tuesday, they will be off to the NLCS by sweeping the Yankees. The Dodgers lead the Phillies 1-0 after the Phillies blew the 3-0 lead and could not get the offense going in the second half. The Brewers are up 1-0 in the series against the Cubs after dominating the Cubs in Game 1. So, tons of sports on tonight. Um, Monday Night Football in Jacksonville, and then once again Monday Night Football in Jacksonville, and Game 2 between the Dodgers and Phillies, and the Cubs and the Brewers. Oh yeah, there is one more thing I want to talk about. So, college football over the weekend. Games were great. I want to talk about college football. I thought about talking about college football a little bit more, but I feel like there's a lot more to talk about in the UFC, which is why I went to UFC a bit more. But wow, what a weekend in college football! Three ranked teams in the top 15 getting upset. Two of them in the top 10. Started off by Cincinnati beating Iowa State, and then which not the biggest upset, but still Iowa State, who would have looked unbeatable in the Big 12, falling to Cincinnati in Cincinnati. And then I think, obviously, the two elephants in the room. Texas losing on the road to Florida. DJ Lagway finally played a great game. And then Penn State, the first top 10 team to lose to an 0-4 squad since 1985. And those last two losses, Penn State and Texas, are no longer ranked in the newest rankings. Let me just find the rankings real quick so I can just update what the rankings are. Just 1 second. The rankings are on here. And that's not the full rankings. Yes, I'm Googling this in the spot. Fight me if you have an issue. Yeah, the rankings came out yesterday afternoon. I just gotta. Where are they, man? Why can't I find out? Oh yeah, big win for the Titans, by the way. Um, Cardinals are frauds. Titans finally got their first win of the season. Cam Ward finally has his first NFL victory as a starter. That's pretty big. I cannot. Where the hell are the rankings, dude? Here we go. Alright, so this is the top 25 in college football. I'm going to start with 25 and work my way up to 1. So 25th is Florida State coming off their back-to-back losses. 24 is South Florida back in the rankings again. Memphis, the first bowl team, they go up in the rankings at 23. 22 is Iowa State, 21 is Arizona State, and 20 is Vanderbilt. 19 through 50 is Virginia, BYU, Illinois, Notre Dame, and Michigan. 14 to 11 is Missouri, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, and LSU. Georgia is ranked 10, Texas Tech 9, Alabama 8, Indiana 7, Oklahoma 6, Texas A&M 5th, Ole Miss 4th, Oregon 3rd, Miami jumps into 2nd, and obviously still holding down number 1 ranking are the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State will play Illinois next weekend. That'll be the big noon kickoff game, and College Game Day is going to Eugene for the Indiana versus Oregon game. That will be really good, but I have a feeling that Oregon is going to slaughter Indiana. But yeah, obviously, what I talk about the rankings is because of two teams that are no longer in them. Texas and Penn State have fallen out of the top 25 despite the fact that they were ranked in the top 10. Two big things. Number one, Arch Manning might be one of the most overrated starting quarterbacks I have ever seen. People thought Arch was going to come in and dominate games straight away. The only good games he's had are against teams who didn't have wins themselves in lower conferences. Lost to Ohio State in the road. I'll give him that one. Ohio State has a really good defense, and he just looked off that game. But Florida, the team that many thought was the most overrated team in the country, and many Gators fans wanted Bill Napier's head. He ain't getting fired after that one, that's for sure. But yeah, obviously Penn State. Come on, people were thinking that UCLA was the worst college football team ever assembled, and you lost to them when they were 0-4, with many thinking they were going to go 0-12 this year. Man, I have been super critical on James Franklin in the past. I always thought he was an overrated head coach. I'm thinking definitely right now his future at Penn State's in jeopardy. I mean, not only did he fail to win a big game at home when he had the best opportunity to do so against Oregon, he loses that game because Aller made a terrible throw, got tactically spanked by Dan Lanning in that game. And now you lose to UCLA, a program in shambles, who didn't have a real head coach, who didn't have real coordinators. Like, entering the weekend, they didn't have an interim head coach named, and they didn't have any coordinators because both their coordinators left. They were basically raw dogging that game, and they beat Penn State. Kudos to UCLA, kudos to Nico, but dude, here's the dilemma that Penn State's in. While James Franklin has struggled to win those big games, he's at least ensured that they would be in the rankings, at least for the most part, throughout the year. While Penn State loses the big games, they're at least competitive. They at least made the playoffs last year. I thought they were going to make the playoffs this year. No way that's happening now. Unless they win the Big Ten championship, which even then, like, 2 losses in the Big Ten's tough to recover from. It's like, sure, James Franklin hasn't gotten them to where they wanted to be. But right now, I don't know if there's another head coach in college football who could get them there. I mean, a lot of the names I'm seeing linked to Penn State right now are downgrades. It's like I've seen, believe it or not, Ryan Day. I've seen Lane Kiffin. Like, those are downgrades. Ole Miss and Ohio State are in the top 4. The only other guy that could be getting an upgrade is Kurt Signetti, but even then, like, Kurt Signetti loves Indiana. He doesn't want to leave. So, like, who else in college football is going to make Penn State as competitive as James Franklin? Even if he sucks in the big games, and now he just lost to an 0-14. I just don't know. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. I'll break down all the NFL games tomorrow after Monday Night Football tonight, and also I'll talk about the MLB postseason with game 2 of the National League Division Series, the 2 series in the NLDS tonight. Talk about that. Hopefully we get some bigger sports news coming out. Maybe I'll break down Mark Sanchez a little bit, although that situation is really weird. Might be too early for me to talk about that a lot. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you for watching. If you're watching, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think about any of the things I just talked about. UFC, NFL, college football, baseball. Any opinions? Let me know in the comments. Until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.